Hey everybody, it's Joaquin. A little while ago, we finished votes over at the Capitol. It's Monday, it's the opening day of the week, so on the opening day of the week, we vote in the evening at 6:30, and there were just two small, what are called suspension votes, which are usually non-controversial votes, but wanted to give y'all an update on the week ahead. But first, start with this really heartbreaking case of a woman in ICE custody in Louisiana. And her name is Laura Ramirez. And she came in January of 2024 to the United States. And she did everything the right way. She used at the time the CBP-1 app, which the Biden administration had set up. It became controversial under Donald Trump. But remember, it was set up as an efficient, orderly way for people to apply for asylum and get considered for asylum from, outside of the United States. And so they'd have an orderly way to come in and go through the process and everything. And that's what she did. And Laura had a 10-year-old daughter, Emily, I believe. And a few months after they came into the United States, they were in Nashville, Tennessee, and they were hit by a car, and the car fled the accident scene, and the young girl died. Her 10-year-old daughter died. And she was very badly injured. She broke her legs. She had to have surgeries, was put on medication. So she's grieving the loss of her daughter, her 10-year-old daughter who died. She's recovering from these surgeries. And she goes to check in at her ICE appointment, and she gets taken in by ICE. So this woman, Laura Ramirez, lost her 10-year-old daughter, came in the right way, applied in an orderly way with the CBP-1 app, and was now pursuing a U visa. A U visa is a visa for victims of crime. So in this case, when that car fled, ended up killing her daughter and injured her and then fled, she should qualify for a U visa. And so now she's been in ICE custody, I believe, for months, and they won't even give her basic accommodations. Apparently, she's not getting some of the medicine that she needs. And, she requested to sleep on a bottom bunk because at many of these facilities, even at Dilly, for example, it's like 12 people per room. But in the adult facilities, it's even more people per room. And so they have these bunk beds. So ICE, with her still recovering from her broken leg, still on medication, some of which they don't give her, they put her on a top bunk in this ICE jail. So I thought about that case when Donald Trump said that he wanted to rename ICE to NICE. Would you say that they're being nice to people like Laura Ramirez, who did everything the right way, who's grieving over the loss of her 10-year-old daughter, who's sitting in this detention center, this jail in Louisiana? And so I hope that y'all will continue to speak up about cases like Laura's, because that's the kind of inhumanity that we're seeing out of ICE and the Department of Homeland Security and this administration. It goes beyond issues of immigration or, vetting people who are in the country. When you use the CBP-1 app, you had to get vetted before being allowed to come into the country. So that vetting already happened. This woman had a 10-year-old daughter. It goes beyond all of those. It's not about an orderly process. It's not about vetting people. It's about punishing people. It's about being cruel. That's what will define Donald Trump's terms in office. This cruelty, this intentional punishment, this pulverizing of people is exactly what's happening with Laura Ramirez. And so again, please y'all continue to speak up and do everything that you can. I'm helping to lead a delegation of members of Congress to go back to Dilly, that Dilly trailer prison, next Monday on May 5th. I think it's the 5th. And so we're going to go back to Dilly, follow up on a lot of the cases that we've been working on from before, and then also, obviously go inspect the place and check it out and see, who's new over there that we haven't had a chance to talk to. But make no mistake, because y'all have spoken out so strongly, that's why so many families have been released. I believe that's why the courts have also, based on the law, but also, I think, they also hear, the strong public reaction about what is fair and what is just. And, so I think that's why so many folks have been released from Dilly over the last 4 weeks or so. So keep speaking up. So I mentioned that I got back to DC today. It's going to be a fairly busy week, because after this week, then we go into what's called a district work period, which is when we're off from time in DC and we're back home. So I'll be back in San Antonio. But this week we have, again, the potential reauthorization of FISA 702, which is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And I mentioned that the last time I gave you all an update. They gave a short-term extension, so it's up this week. So those issues around requiring a warrant for this surveillance and so forth, those are coming up again. The Farm Bill, the reauthorization of the Farm Bill, which happens about every 5 years, that's being considered this week. There's a lot of different amendments, and then the main bill is supposed to get considered. We'll see if that happens or not. So those are a few of the big things that are going on this week. There's also another war powers resolution vote on the Iran war. And so that will happen, I think, on Wednesday, that we'll reconsider that one. On this one, I think that you'll have all of the Democrats join together and support it and vote for it, I believe. And so last time there was one Democrat who voted with Republicans, so we obviously one vote short. The challenge there is that you've had a few Democrats who are gone from the Congress now, right? And so that vote is still going to be a very close, a tough vote. And then, I saw some good news today. Y'all remember the Gama Skuad family, the family of mariachis, the brothers. It was 3 brothers who were invited by their congresswoman to come perform as part of their high school at the U.S. Capitol last year. And, they were at Dilly, and a bunch of us worked to help get them out. Well, Casey Musgraves, who's an incredible Texas musician and singer, she's invited them. She'd invited them back then, and now it's actually going to happen. She's invited them to perform with her. They're going to come on right before her at Green Hall in New Braunfels, right around New Braunfels, on May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So I'm going to try to go by at least one of those shows. Remember, one of the young brothers was rated as the top, I think, trumpeter in the state of Texas. So just incredibly talented folks. And I'm glad they're going to have a chance to do that. And then finally, y'all, we posted this video on my Instagram, and a lot of people took interest in it because people realize that this is not information that we have ever gotten in the U.S. Congress. So we put up a video about a month ago now. The State Department's main nuclear weapons and nuclear nonproliferation person came to Congress, came to the Foreign Affairs Committee, which I sit on, and he was testifying about, talked about the war, talked about Iran's nuclear capabilities, and, spoke on all that. And then I asked him a question about something that at least I've never been briefed on, and I don't think Congress has been briefed on or given an answer to, which is what are Israel's nuclear capabilities? What nuclear weapons does Israel possess? And I said that that's especially important right now because for the first time in history, you have the United States fighting alongside Israel against Iran, and Israel and Iran have both struck close to each other's nuclear facilities. So, I basically said, hey, what's important now that we know, you got to tell us what the deal is. And he refused to say anything. He just didn't answer. So we're following up with an official letter asking them on the record to tell us something that Congress has not been briefed on, and something that we can't afford to not know and not pay attention to right now, given the stakes, the consequences, and what's going on. So, we're circulating our letter. We're asking other members of Congress to sign on. And so we have a good group so far, but we've still got a few more days before we close the letter. So hopefully we'll have a good number of colleagues who join us in that letter to just ask it's a very straightforward letter asking, hey, can you brief Congress on what those capabilities are? Just as in the past, we've been told the same capabilities for other nuclear nations. We need to know at this point what Israel's capabilities are and the status of their program. So we're going to follow up on that this week. All right, so it'll be a busy week, but also look forward to being home next week to return to Dilly and to keep working on all these issues. We had a great passport fair, I guess about, a week and a half ago now in San Antonio. There were 1,100 passports that we were able to get done. The State Department, the consular services, they did an extraordinary job. They sent about 15 people from Houston and just did an extraordinary job. And so, I told them that I would let the folks in Washington know what an incredible job they did. And this is part of that, but also I'll let them know more formally. And so, yes, we will try to follow up on that with another one, hopefully in the fall. Remember, San Antonio is going to get a passport office. We're in line to get a passport office. I don't know the exact window, but I would say, hopefully no later than early 2027. But we'll keep pressing the State Department on that. I had asked them about that, but didn't get a clear timeline on it a few months ago. But we'll keep pushing them because we're supposed to get one. So you guys in San Antonio don't have to go to Houston or Dallas anymore when you've got an emergency passport that you need to get. All right? We'll talk soon, y'all. Take care.